Today, for our fourth installment of Walking in Verona, we are doing Pompton Avenue, and we're going to walk it all the way up to the Cedar Grove border. But where is the Cedar Grove border? It turns out that it depends on what side of the road you're standing on. So let us begin our walk. Pompton Avenue is to our right. That's Mount Prospect. That's heading south to West Orange. Bloomfield Avenue was at that big intersection. So in any event, I was talking about the border between Cedar Grove and Verona. And I need to go back in time to talk about a time when this whole area all the way to Caldwell, or even West Caldwell, was called the Horse Neck. And it was basically one big place. I'm not sure when that was, but probably back to the 1700s. And then Verona, what was going to be Verona and what was going to be Cedar Grove, was part of this. And I don't know what they were called during this period, but at some point, the combined entity of what is now Cedar Grove and Verona split away from the Horse Neck. And for a while, they were one unit. And again, I'm not sure how long that was. But then again, in the early 1900s, Cedar Grove wanted to break away from Verona. Neither of these two places were called Cedar Grove or Verona, but whatever they were collectively, they were going to split up. So, in 1906, I believe, and if I'm wrong about anything here, feel free to correct me. I'd like to learn. What was going to be Cedar Grove voted to break away from what was going to be Verona. Now, I believe the combined entity, or at least the Verona part of that combined entity, was called Vernon. Anybody who knows New Jersey knows there already is a Vernon in Sussex County in New Jersey. So in 1907, when Verona wanted to incorporate, this is Lewisburg Square. It's a property, and you may not see it, but there is an exit road out towards the back that comes out on the side street. So you have these two, what eventually going to be two towns. They split up. Cedar Grove does it in 1906. Verona does it in 1907. And Verona tries to incorporate their town as Vernon, New Jersey. But there already was a post office in Vernon, Sussex County, New Jersey. So what is now Verona decided to call itself Verona, which seemed to be a reasonable choice because it sounds like Vernon. So that's how we became Verona. The name Cedar Grove, I believe, comes from that split, and they called themselves Cedar Grove. I don't know if there was a grove of cedars, but that's what they called themselves. Okay. There's more office buildings, doctor buildings on the right-hand side. We will talk about them on the flip. There's another complex on the right. This is called Mount Vernon Square, sometimes called Beacon Hill. And this complex has one way in, but the houses are built around a circle. You see down there, it hangs to the right, and down there's a circle of homes, and the road takes you around the circle. The reason why I obsess on ways in and ways out is I am an ambulance driver and I need to know where things are. So we now have Verona and Cedar Grove. What I'm going to describe to you, I will show you in a little bit, is an area of about 500 feet of this road where the left hand of this road belongs to Cedar Grove, or is in Cedar Grove, and the right side of this road is in Verona. Now, I've kind of known this to be true, but I took a little bit of time on Google Maps, and I can now define what is where, because it always used to drive me crazy. Up that road, an area called, I think it's Cambridge, and it goes up to Kip's Ridge, Kip Castle, and that's actually borders on Montclair on the other side of those properties. So Montclair, over in this part of the world, Montclair and Verona are really close. So there's lots of professional buildings, doctors, lawyers. This is a busy street, and I normally shoot my videos very early in the morning, so we're going to get a lot of noise today. Sorry. So up these roads is a monastery, which we don't have access to, but Kip's Castle is up there, and we'll try to take a look at that on a later video. So let me talk about what's on the next block, and I'll start talking about it now. If you look at police, fire, and EMS, Verona has a police station in the town square at 600 Bloomfield Avenue. They've got two firehouses, one on the east side and the other at the community center. And if you look at the rescue squad, they have a building at 12 Church Street. The rescue squad owns its building and has been in that place since 1927. The police department, while a younger building, is way undersized for what a modern police department needs to be. So it shares a building with the town council, the town courts, and other town administrative offices. And a lot of the basement functional area a lot of the police functional area is in the basement. And it's there's no parking for the police car, so they take up slots on the street. So less than ideal. So most of us know we have to do something about something. The fire department building is 100 years old. The rescue squad's building, although we own it, is 100 years old, and something needs to be done. So there was a plan to take houses on this block, which adjoin a wetland or some kind of undeveloped space, and turned it into a three-party use facility, police, fire, EMS. The plot is big enough to do that. Whatever they needed to get done or to analyze in terms of maybe wetlands or remediation in the back, I think they got through that. But it was a big nut, and the townsfolk refused to pay for it, so that plan is not going forward. So I think in this place, the rescue squad will be able to use that garage to store the vehicles that we only use in cases of large emergencies. The plan is not going through. I'm not aware of any plan that has come forward that is practical. So that's what I have to say about that. In terms of the rescue squad, I'm a member of the rescue squad. Our building is quite old. We will serve the public no matter where we have to work out of. It would be nice if we had a proper place to do training and a proper place for our overnight members to sleep, because right now they basically sleep on the floor until their calls come in. But we're going to do what we have to do. And that's enough of that. Now, earlier I talked about the fact that the border of Cedar Grove and Verona is not straight across this road. I'm not sure why, but one day maybe I'll find out. Maybe one of you guys knows and can tell me. But I will tell you this. We are approaching the border of Cedar Grove on the left. And then we're going to have to walk about another 5 minutes to get to the border of Verona on the right. Okay? So let me cross the street and I'll show you what I mean. So the Centro Associates Professional Building, right? That on the right is in Cedar Grove. On the left is in Verona. So you can even see it, if you get close enough, on those white double doors underneath Centro Associates. You'll see number 6. So the numbers reset when it goes from Verona into Cedar Grove. This numbering and this split can be confusing. And there are times when we have a road where you just go from Verona into Cedar Grove and you say, well, why would that matter? Well, if you're police or fire or EMS, it's relevant. As an EMS agency, I really shouldn't be taking calls in Cedar Grove unless we're requested. And then if it doesn't get dispatched right, which doesn't happen often, but it could happen, then I could be dispatched to an address in Cedar Grove and not even know it, because there's one house over on the same block from an address in Verona. So these things do matter. I'm still looking at Cedar Grove on the right-hand side, and I'm still walking in Verona on the left-hand side. This is a Pilgrim Shopping Center, and while I continue to talk crookedly while I'm walking, we have King's, we have Liquors, we have another bagel place, which is still in Verona. That's the third one that I've shown you in Verona. Gymnastics, Pizza, Cleaners, Stretch Lab, Jet Set, I don't know what that is, Crunch Fitness, Golf Paradise Club. I'm not a golfer, so I really don't know about that stuff. Amazing Savings and Massage Envy. Now, we're going to walk a little bit more because I'll show you where the border actually is. Let me get up there and I'll show you. Okay. So I'm going into the Pilgrim Shopping Center because the border won't make any sense from the street, but it might make more sense from here. And I don't know why it's been done this way, but I'm sure somebody out there knows, so please correct me. So it turns out that the border, as we're going into Cedar Grove, is between the Petco and the Staples. There was a Party Fair, but I don't know if they're still there. But in any event, from that upper store, which is the Petco, into that lower collection of stores, Party Fair, Staples, is where the border is between Verona and Cedar Grove. Now, one other thing to mention is you may see that large building, those large buildings up the hill. Those are Claridge House, and they are in Verona. So let's take a look. And we'll cross into Cedar Grove any minute now. So when I moved here, I knew it was different. It really didn't matter, but it was just confusing to me why, the Pilgrim is in Cedar Grove. That's that restaurant on the far side. There's really not that much on the other side of the street, but they're all in Cedar Grove. And we are now crossing from Verona into we're going into Cedar Grove. So that was really weird. At least I understand it a little bit better, but I still don't understand why. I have a hunch, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it could result from the splitting of the two towns in 1906, 1907, that perhaps this was undeveloped, and those addresses across the street were developed. And I also have the suspicion that perhaps this section was developed later or was a separate address at the time the big mall was built. So I'm hypothesizing that big portion to the right was one big plot, and that this was one big plot. But again, correct me if I'm wrong. So we're going back out to Pompton Avenue, and this time when we step foot on it, we will be in Cedar Grove. Okay. Now in Cedar Grove, if we continue, there's the deer crossing the street. Look out, deer. That's Ridge Road. The deer did make it safely to the other side of the street. Ridge Road is a good way to get to Route 3. Okay, we're heading south now on Pompton. I figured I'd talk about diners for a minute since we're approaching the Pilgrim Diner. It's gone through a number of changes. It was closed for a while. It's open now. We go there sometimes. But New Jersey has lost a lot of diners. And I love diners. You go there any hour of the day or night and you get what you want. But we've lost a lot of diners, and those that remain, very few of them are 24 hours. So when we moved into the place in 95, you could go to the Caldwell Diner overnight, you could go to the Pilgrim overnight, you go to the Eight Brothers Diner on 46 overnight, 24/7, 365. That's not true anymore. One of the places is gone, and the other place is now just kind of normal hours. So I kind of miss that. There was a time when we were coming back from a friend of mine. We were watching the Geminid meteor shower, which occurs in December every year. And we were out all night. It was freezing. It felt like a bunch of idiots, but we did it anyway. That was a great meteor shower, by the way. We saw literally 60 an hour. And we came to the Pilgrim. And they were open. We had some pie, we had some coffee, and then we went home and got some sleep. And I kind of miss that freedom. And, you know, it's just not that common anymore. But I'd say the pandemic was tough. I mean, you can't staff for low volume times when everything's falling apart. We're happy the Pilgrim is back and that they seem to be doing well, and we like going there. But just don't try to go there after, 11 o'clock or something. Okay, coming up on a property. I wish I could tell you what it was or why it is the way it is, but that black and white with the red roof property ahead, it's been vacant for years. And then before that it was occupied for a short time, and before that it was vacant for years. So I don't know if these types of properties are cursed, unfortunate, or is it just location, or is it bad management? But in any event, in the last iteration in which it was a functioning restaurant, it was called Rome. That literally lasted 6 months. And then before that it was down for years, and then it was open. When we moved into town in 95, there was something there. The other thing that's always confused the hell out of me, and forgive me if I trespass, is what are those structures in the back? Are they related to this property on the left? Or what? I mean, they could have been garages, I suppose. They could have been for horses or cars. And there's more up there. So, beats me. And then beyond that, it's just a normal street. Over there, that's the normal street. I don't know which one, but I could figure it out. So, really curious if anybody out there knows what these were used for. And that's enough of that. Let's not get arrested for trespassing. So more recently, after Rome went out, they did redo the front and do some cleanup. It made me think at the time that maybe somebody was going to move in, but that has not happened. And it's probably been looking like this for a year or two at this point. So, I don't know. So as I've said, we're walking and we're still in Cedar Grove on the right-hand side of the street, and that's still Verona on the left-hand side of the street. As a matter of fact, down the road, you're going to see a sign that says, "Welcome to Verona," to let you know that you're about to enter Verona. So that building on the right, Cintro Associates professional building. My son, many years ago, had an orthodontist who was in this building. And what I remember about it is when Sully landed the plane on the Hudson, my son was getting his teeth straightened in this building. This is still Cedar Grove for the next, 150 feet. And then, all of a sudden, you're in Verona. I said we're going to walk Pompton end to end, so we still have a little bit more to go. When we hit Bloomfield Avenue, that is the end of Pompton. After that, it becomes Mount Prospect. Yeah, it's tough to live on an avenue like this, because how do you back out of your driveway? I feel for those people. At least there's a light here. There are lights that break up the traffic a little bit. So coming up at the intersection is Linden Avenue, which is a major east-west road. Goes all the way through town, almost to the very west side, where it hits Fairview. And this is the terminus on the east side. That road across the way is not an extension of Linden Avenue. It's Newark. Cambridge there and Newark on the next one. So Cambridge takes you up to Kip Castle, and at some point I'll do a walkabout in Kip's Castle. Kip's Castle is both in Verona and Montclair, so I feel entitled to include it in my Walking Verona, New Jersey series. This is where I get my gas. Both gas stations are cheap. I've been coming to this one for a long time. That's the rescue squad that just passed us. I'm not on duty until later on today. Oh, it's getting a little bit hot. Coming up, doggy daycare is closed because it's Sunday. The dogs are at home resting. Okay, no dogs today. Nice breeze. Sorry. Morning. Okay. We've had a very wet summer, or at least a very wet last 6 weeks or so. So the grass around here is looking pretty good. Although more and more homeowners are choosing to install sprinklers. I'm old school. In New Jersey, it's fairly common to have parking underneath a building because there's not a whole lot of extra land in a lot of places. Doctor's offices. Urgent care. Okay, so that's a Chase Bank that's been out for a long time. There was talk that they were going to put a Starbucks there, but that didn't pan out. Traffic-wise is not great. Nobody would intentionally come along here for the purpose of getting a coffee. Korean massage, foot spa, and Famous Ray's Pizza. The green awning is Huntington Learning Center, which has been out for many years at this point. And then when we get back down to Bloomfield Avenue, we've got the Acura dealership that we talked about in video number 1. Thank you so much for sharing your music with me, sir, wherever you are. In any event, I guess that's about it for this time. Okie dokie, thank you for walking with me. If you have any ideas for any other places to walk, let me know. I've got a whole bunch that I want to hit, and I will eventually. Till then, be well, like and subscribe. Have a good day.